the actual number is?
With the 100,000 without. We have to go.
100,000 for now.
When we added the assistant town clerk, it didn't go to the longevity. This is the first year that she's entitled to the longevity, so the longevity went up about $100 and FICA went up. That whole category went up.
Everything.
So we probably have to go back and revisit the town clerk and the benefits line.
Okay.
But I have the new number.
So I would entertain a motion that we go back to review town clerk's department, so we can update that number. It is on page 2 of 13.
So moved, Mr. President.
Motion by Mrs. Zelinski, is there a second? Second by Mrs. Bonioli. Under discussion, Cynthia, what would be the new number then? We had 171, 224,
It's 171, 329.
329.
Yes.
171, I'm sorry.
329.
329, thank you.
171, 329. The longevity pension.
Say one.
Yeah, the benefits.
So is there a motion now to approve the town clerk's office in the amount of $171,329?
So moved.
So moved by Mrs. Zelinski, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. O'Hara. Any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Mrs. Bottomoli?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara?
Yes.
Mr. Ogier?
Yes.
Mr. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Vadeney?
Yes. And that gives us a new bottom line number of 45,066.
You have to go back to employee benefits also, because they changed the FICA.
Okay.
Okay?
It's 4811 in the department. 4811 in the department.
What
The
page?
lower pages. $11, $13, and 12.
Page 11 of 13. Well, actually, it's on, bottom line is on 12 of 13.
So the new number is 2,563,616.
2563
616.
616. Is there a motion to approve employee benefits in the amount of $2,563,616?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Mario, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Zelinski. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Mrs. Bottomoli?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara?
Yes.
Mr. Ogier?
Yes.
Mr. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Vadeney?
Yes. Is there any other categories? That's it.
No, the bottom line.
So that bottom line is,
$45,066,196.
what is it, bottom? 190,
$45,066,196.
196?
And that includes the $100,000.
So is there now a motion to approve an expense budget of $45,066,196?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Zelinski, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Bonneville. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Mrs. Bottomoli?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara?
Yes.
Mr. Ogier?
Yes.
Mr. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Vadeney?
Yes. Now, under the revenue budget, that increase in $100,000, does that come out of that first line item? Under current year's taxes?
Now you're at 3.87. I'm just in revenue, this is not page here. Oh, no. Oh, you want the levy? I'm sorry.
I want to know, I need to know what the
The revenue number?
current year's taxes, interest, and phase are.
$34,051,271. Just the first number, or do you want the whole category?
Full category.
The whole category.
Bottom line.
Okay, $34,734,882.
734.
882.
832?
882.
882.
882.
So now do we do like we did the other night where we approved a revenue budget and then go back and set that number? That's what we did the other night,
For motion, Mr. President.
correct? So I'm looking for a motion to approve a revenue budget in the amount of $45,066,196. We need to approve the total budget, then go back with the tax number.
Mr. President, motion to approve $45,066,196.
Motion by Mrs. Zelinski, is there a second? Second by Mrs. O'Hara. Any other discussion? Roll call vote?
Mrs. Bottomoli?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara?
Yes.
Mr. Oshia?
Yes.
Mr. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Vannen?
Yes. Now I entertain a motion on the current year's taxes, interest, and phase out in the amount of $34,734,882.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Zelinski, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Bottomoli. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Mrs. Bottomoli?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara?
Yes.
Mr. Oshia?
Yes.
Mr. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Vannen?
Yes. That does the budget. You need a minute to recess now, Cynthia, to give us the new numbers on the method of tax collection.
So the new levy amount, the low would be 34,620,961. And the high, no more than 34,670,961.
Cindy, you got the last one, $34,670,961. The first one was 34, what was that?
620.
34,620,961. And the high is 34,670,960.
Thank you. Next item on is discussion by council vote or other action on motion to reconsider and or rescind and or amend method of tax collection as adopted on 6/24/2019. Notice if a motion to reconsider and or rescind and or amend is passed, the method of tax collection as approved on 6/24/2019 will be subject to change and or modification by council discussion, reconsideration, amendment, vote, or other action. Do we reconsider this, David, or do we amend it?
Motion to reconsider.
Reconsider. Is there a motion to reconsider the method of taxation as adopted on 6/24/2019?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Zelinski, is there a second? Second by Mrs. O'Hara. Discussion? Roll call vote?
Mrs. Bottomoli?
No.
Mrs. O'Hara?
Yes.
Mr. Oshia?
Yes.
Mr. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Vannen?
Yes.
That document is now back before the council
Ms. Dye.
that you had last.
That's the next item on the agenda now. Discussion by council vote or other action on adoption of method of tax collection. So I will entertain a motion that shall this town council vote as follows, that the finance director be and is hereby authorized to pay each order when approved by the town council, by the school committee, or the director of public aid, as the case may be, that the finance director be and is hereby authorized to apply receipts for the interest on overdue taxes towards the payment of interest on bonds and notes of the town. That the finance director be and is hereby authorized, within the consent of the town council, to hire such sum or sums of money as may be necessary to carry on the business of the town for the ensuing year. The finance director be and is hereby authorized to pay the town's debts and interest. It is hereby resolved that the North Smithfield Town Council, in a meeting legally assembled on June 28, 2019, hereby orders a levy, apportion, and collection of the tax on the rateable real estate, tangible personal property, and excise tax on registered motor vehicles and trailers in a sum not less than $34,620,961, nor more than $34,670,961. Said taxes are for ordinary expenses and charges for the payment of interest and indebtedness in whole or in part of said town and for the other expenses or purpose authorized by law. Tax assessor shall assess and apportion said tax on the inhabitants and rateable property of said town and its 31st day of December 2018 at 12 o'clock midnight Eastern Standard Time or Daylight Savings Time. with exception of new construction, as the case may be according to law, delivered to and deposited, same in office of the town administrator on or before the 30th day of June 2019. Town administrator, on receipt of said assessment, shall forthwith make a copy of same and deliver it to the finance director, shall forthwith issue and affix to said copy a warrant under his or her hand directed to the collector of taxes of the town, granting him or her proceed and collect said tax of the person in the state liable therefore. Said tax shall be due and payable no later than the 15th day of August 2019, and all taxes remaining unpaid no later than the 15th day of August 2019 shall carry until collected a penalty at a rate of 12% per annum unless specifically abated by a vote of the town council on the Title 44 of the General Laws of Rhode Island, 1956, as amended. Said tax may be paid in 4 installments, the first installment of 25%, no later than the 15th day of August 2019. The remaining installments as follows: 25% on the 15th day of October 2019, 25% on the 15th day of January 2020, and the remaining 25% on the 15th day of April 2020. Each installment of taxes are paid on or before the last day of each installment period successively, and in order shall be free from any charge or penalty. The first installment or any succeeding installment of taxes not paid by the last date of the respective installment period or periods as they occur, then the whole tax or remaining unpaid balance of the tax, as the case may be, shall immediately become due and payable and carry until collected a penalty at a rate of 12% per annum from the first quarter due date or the last satisfied quarter unless specifically abated by a vote of the town council on the Title 44 of the General Laws of Rhode Island, 1956, as amended. Quarterly payment options shall not apply to any tax levied in an amount not in excess of $100, in which case such tax will be payable in a single installment. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Zelinski. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. O'Hara. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Mrs. Bottomoli?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara?
Yes.
Mr. Oshia?
Yes.
Mr. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Vannen?
Yes. Next item, discussion by council vote or other action on list containing the full and fair cash value of each property class and determination of the percentage of the tax levy to be apportioned each class of property and application of tax rates sufficient to produce the proportion of the total tax levy pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 44-5-20.2, North Smithfield property tax classification, tax levy determination. The assessor shall provide to the town council a list containing the full and fair cash valuation of each property class, and with the approval of the town council, annually determine the percentages of the tax levy to be apportioned each class of property, and shall annually apply tax rates sufficient to produce a portion of the total tax levy. Do we have such a list?
Tax assessor is here, Mr. President. Call it, sir.
If you look at the top of the spreadsheet, each class is broken out with the full assessment, residential, commercial, or data residential. Right now, these are rates that way.
Mr. President, we have put together a sheet to offer for discussion with encouragement to adopt in a fashion that would distribute the levy. Let's go through some numbers. What you're seeing here first, the residential tax base is 69.93% of the total assessed value, roughly 70%. That's in the fourth line down, 69.93. The frozen property is approximately 0.31% of the total assessed value. Commercial value is 17.89, 18%. Motor vehicles, 4.41%. And tangible, 7.47, I think it is. As we have, those are the percentages of the base as they exist today, based on the revaluation that has recently been completed. We've had a lot of discussion about what the tax rate should be and how they should be apportioned. The percent of the levy that in this sheet that is attributed to the individual classes is in the bottom line that keeps moving right there. At the percent of the levy in this calculation for the 70% of the value that is residential, 57.7% of the levy is being applied. 0.21% for the 0.31% on the what is that?
Frozen.
The frozen. Yeah, thank you. 17.56% on the commercial, and then 8.02 on the motor vehicle, and 16.5% on the tangible. If you look at the ratios there, the 16.5 compares with 7.47, so more than double the tangible value is being, the tangible value is realizing, the tangible class is realizing twice the value in terms of actual dollars. The commercial line is realizing a number that is fairly equal, 17.5 to 17.89. And the residential is at 57.7 versus 70. This is a different sheet from what I had sent to you folks by email and was referenced at our last meeting. This would result in a tax rate that would have the tangible tax reduced to 42.50, a 1.16% reduction in that tax. The commercial real estate would go to 18.88 from 19.125. And the residential would go from 1723 to 15867. The percent change in the residential would be a reduction of 7.95%. The commercial is a reduction of 1.28, and the tangible is a reduction of 1.16. As you know, because our commercial rate is, or our tangible rate is currently at 2.25 times the commercial rate, we are maxed out in that line. You cannot reduce the commercial tax rate without reducing the tangible rate. Had conversations with a lot of residents over the past week, and I tried to explain that if we had a circumstance this year where, just for, to keep things simple, we had a $30 million levy in the current budget, and we were forecasting the same $30 million budget for the future year budget. And we had this circumstance with reval, so meaning that there's no increase in costs. We had this circumstance with reval that is real, with a 14% increase in the residential value and a 6% increase on average in the commercial value. We would be easily come to a conclusion that, okay, because the 14% residential, the residential base went up by 14%, we could simply reduce the residential rate by 14% and collect the same number of dollars. We could do the same with commercial if we didn't have to raise any more money and generate a circumstance where that 6% increase in base yielded a 6% reduction in the commercial tax rate, meaning, again, we collect the same number of dollars. We can't do that, obviously, this year. We're bound up by this 2.25 ratio, But I refuse to submit something to you that doesn't give consideration to the commercial taxpayer. You have a number of the commercial taxpayers in the room tonight. They're not National Grid. They're Truck Solutions. They're Wright's Dairy Farm. They're National Marker. I don't know who else is here. There are business people here to speak to this issue tonight, if you'll allow them, and to not even give them the entire consideration that could be due, but to also not disregard them as we make this decision. So the recommendation that I have for you, based on numbers that the assessor has applied at my request, are that the percentage of the levy be distributed at 57.7% to the residential rate, 0.21% to the, what is that? The frozen, I'm sorry, I was getting that. 17.56% to the commercial, and 8.02 to motor vehicles, and 16.5 to tangible, yielding tax rates that would be 15.867 residential, 18.88 commercial, and 42.5 tangible.
Is there a motion to accept the percent of the 2020 levy as presented by the administrator and the